Be welcome to Cómic Mundial, your radio podcast dedicated to comics, animation, and other geeky stuff with the collaboration of Nakama Project Almeria, the association of artists in the city of Almeria in Spain. Hola everyone, my name is Jorge López, El Decote, and this is Cómic Mundial. We turn back, we have come back with another radio podcast after the podcast that we have made in Greece with our friend Olia Dakoyanis. We have talked about with her about their comics dedicated to jazz music and also archaeology due to her experience in Spain, in Almeria, in our city. And well, today we are, if in that program I talked that we had a jazzy time, right now we are going to have Halloween time. Halloween is pretty soon, or maybe today, I don't know. Also, if this program we will publish on Halloween, but anyway, we pumpkins are everywhere right now, and today we will talk about, of course, horror comics. Horror comics are not very common, very common compared with other comics like superheroes or like manga also, or maybe even comedy. Or the strips, the little humor strips. But anyway, I can say that we can see that The Walking Dead, for example, is one of the best sold comics everywhere. So I think that it is worthy to talk about horror comics. For helping me today with this program, I have my companion, my colleague, my Nakama, Nemesis Castillo in Almeria. How do you do, Nemesis?
Hi, here I am enjoying the Halloween times.
Well, I'm glad to have you here today to meet our guest today, because today we are going in this section of Cómic Mundial Erasmus. We have come back to this section. We are going to travel to Wales, to the United Kingdom, and there our guest is waiting for us, Joey Oliveira. How do you do?
Hi, nice to meet you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on here and looking forward to chatting things horror, Halloween, all that business.
Of course. Well, I can. Well, I'm so glad to have you here today, also, Joey. I've been very keen to invite you after knowing your comics, because we have someone in common. Is Adrian Garcia, the artist Adrian Garcia from Almeria, that have published some comics with you, also with your scripts. Today we are going to talk about those comics, also all the other that you have published, also with Afterlight Comics. Joey is the editor and also a scriptwriter, and it is you make a lot of things. You are an old man, an orchestra man. I don't know how to say it, but you do everything in your publishing. But anyway, I think that is pretty worthy, as I said before, to comment also your work. So to start, Joey, how did you start with the seal of Afterlight Comics publisher?
So it started off in 2017. I wrote a comic script called Ghost Island, and it was in issue 1, and I dreamed of it being like Walking Dead. Walking Dead was the comic series that actually got me into writing comics, because it was the first comic that I had come across that was like non-superhero. So it was like there's comics out there that existed that weren't just about superheroes. They were about like real life, like dramatizations of like what happens if you lived in a zombie world. So it really opened my eyes into like you could bring non-superhero stories to the comic medium and then be successful, and be able to tell these interesting stories, not without superheroes being involved. That was just totally alien to me. So as I say, I went off and wrote my first issue of a comic script called Ghost Island, and basically we pitched that as Jurassic Park but with ghosts. So that was the log line, and I wrote it, worked with an artist, Spanish artist called Annabella Toglioni, and we worked together with that. It was 44 pages, first issue. And then I started doing Comic Cons for about a year. I did 29 comic conventions in 1 year, which was crazy.
Wow.
With just one book. With just one book, it was quite hard to like.
That's impressive.
Impressive or stupid? Because I only had one book, and you can only sell that one book, and you have to, all the traveling and table costs and things like that. Being able to only sell one book was, I'd do things differently now if I was to do it again. But that first year, I learned a lot, and I started getting more ideas, like other stories other than just Ghost Island, the comic that I was working on. So I was thinking, I had like this Ghost Island banner with me that I was go to conventions with. And so I didn't want to just be known as like the Ghost Island man. I wanted to be like known for other things. And so then in 2018, August, I came up with the imprint of Afterlight Comics, and that we were just going to be publishing horror comics. So it was like a niche that I thought that wasn't really out there. There's, not, I think there's one or two that I can think of, other horror comic publishers in the world that I know of. When you do a simple Google, not much comes up. So I was like, I'm going to try and, be that flagship for horror comics and produce as many horror comics as I can, get as many stories out there as I can. And it really spawned from there. 2018, we've gone on to publish almost 27, 28 comics, since 2018 in 4 years, which is incredible. And that is down to, the amazing support that I've conjured up from going to all these conventions, meeting people that back me on Kickstarter. It's all thanks to them that we even exist, to be honest. So it's,
So there was a niche of horror comics in there. Nobody was there, so you arrived in there. So and you had no experience in these terms, or you were, or I don't know, you belong to an association or something like that. So, or it was your first experience in comics?
Yeah, exactly. First experience of comics. Like before I published my own comic, I did like listen to podcasts about self-publishing, self-publishing. I was just like listening to every weekend in work, in my rubbish day job that I was in. I was working in a car factory, doing the same thing every day. It was just like the most soul-destroying thing that you could do as a creative person. With an imagination, you want to. It was just like totally the opposite place that I wanted to be, and I'd been there for 10 years, and I'd listened to the podcast to keep me sane about like keeping the creative things going, and inspiring me and keeping the imagination going. So I would write scripts there, and on my breaks on these like little tissue papers and things like that. But honestly, like I do like 90 other than the artwork, I do everything else. I do the lettering, I sometimes do the coloring, I'll do the proofing, I'll do the setting up the print for the comics, what paper to use, the packaging, fulfilling the Kickstarters. Literally every single book, it's just usually just me and the artist, and I'll do everything else. Like it's hard work. It's hard work. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's gigantic. Nemesis, what do you think about all of this, of the work of Joe with this initiative that he had of making all those things?
Yeah, I was feeling very inspired by it. Really, I was thinking like, wow, that's the way to do it. And I was thinking it's very relatable as well, as in a personal level, because I was also there in Cardiff. Actually, I've been an adopted Welsh, and I had my so-called bad jobs, like my very boring jobs, where I also used to listen to podcasts to keep me sane and to draw when I was out and all that. So yeah, it's like a similar experience, but you made something so big happen. and yeah, super inspiring. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And Joey, I guess that you are a huge fan of horror films or comics, of horror comics also. What have been your influences in this case? More the movies, more the comics? What could you say?
Like I said at the beginning, the Walking Dead comics were a big inspiration of opening my eyes into what could be done in comics. But I was always like watched a lot of horror films growing up. I was a massive fan of Goosebumps as a kid. So like the kids horror series that really got me into my first taste of horror. And it went it went from there really. But I used to make when I was from 13 years old, I was given 13, 14 years old, I was given a video camera by my mum at the time, and not thinking what I would do with it, but I went off and I would write scripts to make short films with friends, and that's where it started with like the imagination and actually doing things. And I would film it, write the script, I'd get my friends to act in it, and just go from there. And we'd go to Liverpool and make the film, and I'd come back, I'd edit it, I'd put the music in. So the all hands on approach really started from a young age as well. But it was once I found it really difficult to get into the film industry scene. It was kind of like who you knew rather than what you knew. I'd gained lots of experience. I was nominated for a Young Person's BAFTA award in 2000.
That's right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
And as I say, like the job got in the way of the full-time job got in the way of pursuing any of those things. So like writing scripts in my spare time after clocking off at work and going home after like 12-hour shifts and stuff, I'd focus on my passion, and that was what would keep me going. And that was kind of like, the inspiration came from really making films and not being able to make them and finding a new way to be able to tell stories, which is now comics.
Mm-hmm. So you have had a really big experience making movies. Also, as you said, you have been nominated also for the BAFTAs, the British Academy Cinematographic Awards. And sometimes Joey, we have said that comics are the poor version of of films in the way of the budget that we need to make them. So maybe lots of projects can be canalized to the comics books format, let's say. But anyway, in the case of the writing of scripts, it would be pretty easy for you as you have worked since you were really young, with 13 years old. So you have trained yourself making a script. So I think that it is pretty curious. I've seen it before. This way of arriving to comics from cinema. Also, I don't know if you have thought about it before.
No, I don't think I had. Just like I keep going back to it, but it was until seeing the Walking Dead comics, like that really inspired me into it. But in terms of writing a script, like I do find it very easy to write the scripts. Like when I was making the short films, I'd write the script. The whole film was in my head. I had it all visualized. My imagination conjured up everything that needs to happen. So it was just about getting it onto the page and onto the script for people to then act out, And I think once you find like the right artist that understands what you're going for in your script. So like I'm very not overly detailed, but the artist always knows what kind of shot how it's gonna be framed, like close up, low angle, close up, over the shoulder shot, looking towards so and so, and like with Adrian Garcia, it was just like just like from day one, we just clicked, and he just nails I know I put my description there, but sometimes, you know, some artists don't always follow. They like to go their other direction, but he does it and then goes above and beyond and brings even more to it, you know. And just like I think he gets that cinematic vibe as well. He's got like
Sure.
cinematic vision as well. So I think that's how we've worked so well together. Like my background in film and his cinematic vision too is just like been just like such a good combination, and that's why we've gone on to write and produce. You know, I think it must be like 7, 8 comics now together.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's it. Well, you know, when the first time that I saw the comics that Adrian drew for Afterlight Comics, it was like watching a movie. In fact, he showed us in a Comic-Con some samples of the work that he have done with you, and there were not balloons of text in the samples. And it was amazing to see that we could follow the story without the text. So it was amazing because it had the cinematographic sense of the sequence that we could follow without any doubt. It was really clear to follow the story. So it comes from that sense of narration, of visual narration, let's say. So I know not right now I discovered the origin of those comics, of this sense of showing the narrative, the visual narrative. And well, it is totally cinematographic, as I said. So I'm going to show some samples. Nemesis, if you want to comment anything about, well, of this process, any impression about Joey's work, but I'm going to share some of the comics. First, I'm going to show Stay Awake, written by Joey and drawn by Adrian Garcia. So we could see some examples of what Joey has said. So Nemesis, you can tell whatever you want.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that I find it super interesting, the initiative of having more horror comics, because I think I'm a bit like you said, like when I discovered comics, I don't really like superheroes. And I wasn't very fond of manga. I am now, but I didn't used to be. And yeah, I was thinking, I wish there was more horror. I discovered Junji Ito and it changed my world completely. But yeah, it took some time and I think it's needed. And I think there's a lot of horror fans in the world and we need more horror comics. So yeah.
I'm doing my best.
You do.
Okay, well, we have here the cover page of Stay Awake. It's a series of 3 numbers, I guess. I think, Joey.
4, yeah.
4.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
4 numbers.
Goatman's the 3.
Oh, okay. Well, the story tells about, well, writer, colorist, and letterer made by Joey Oliveira. The artist is Adrian Manuel Garcia, and the cover artist is Robert Geronimo. And well, as you can see, we see several, a scenario in Liverpool, and the story tells about a psychologist called Isaac Banks that is investigated by an inspector. It's Jennifer Lane, if I can, yeah, Inspector Jennifer Lane. And she's investigating some deaths about some patients that this psychologist had related to some diseases related to difficulties with sleep paralysis, with difficulties for sleeping. So Joey, how this project start related with the story and also with the contact with Adrian?
Yeah, so it started off like before I got into comics. I was basically, I was telling you about, I was in that long-term job in the car factory where I was still trying to find my way of how I could still be creative whilst being in that job. And we used to be on a shift that was like four days on, 4 days off. So I was really interested in theatre, and I had seen a few horror stage plays. I went to London, took a trip down there, and I seen The Woman in Black on stage. I don't know if you guys know that one.
Yeah.
Let the Right One In.
Amazing.
And George Orwell's 1984. And I was just like, I was going down there and research for wanting to put my own horror stage play on. I really love like 4D experiences where you can like really immerse the audience into a whole scenario, basically. So like the stage play would involve, the horror show would involve like smells, sound, smoke, lighting, people within the audience. And I wrote Stay Awake as an actual show for the stage for theatre. And so I wrote it, God, in 2010, 2012, and then never did anything with it. It just sat in the drawer for all these years, up until 2018, where I had wrote Ghost Island, and I wanted to obviously make more horror stories. So then I thought, well, I have Stay Awake. How about I try and adapt the stage play now into a horror comic script? And yeah, it started off like adapting the script into 4 issues. Changed it around a bit because obviously some things that worked in the show wouldn't work in the comic, and vice versa, you know. And then I had the script all split up, and then I contacted, I put an advert up on Facebook, in this Facebook connecting comic writers and artists, which is amazing for finding new artists, by the way. And I had like 80, 90 comments replying to the advert that I put up saying paid work for artists, and started reviewing things and checking out artists, and like came across Adrian's post of his little portfolio. And at the time, I don't think he'd had much published at all, but I really liked the style, and it was like, you'll probably see a running theme in my comics is like they tend to be like less cartoony. They're really grounded, so like realistic character expressions, realistic backgrounds, settings, because that's really I think it's really important in horror that, you know, some scenarios are relatable. We can relate to characters. How would we feel if we were in this scenario, with this character in this situation as well? So it's really to keep you, the reader, immersed in the story. And yeah, we got in touch with Adrian, sent him the script. He loves the script. That's how we got started, and continue to grow from there as well.
Mm-hmm. I see. Well, it was a a very curious story how Adrian and you got together in this project. How you met, and we can see here some frames, some pages of Stay Awake, and the cinematographic sense, as I said, of the visual narrative is there, and the composition of the pages is very curious. How Adrian has made this thing also. It is, as I said, very cinematographic. What do you think about it, Nemesis, and all this stuff?
Yeah, I really like the style. It's like you both said, more realistic and grounded, and I really like the color palette as well. And yeah, the story per se, I really enjoyed it. It made me want more.
That's all we want.
So I would definitely do it. But yeah, I think it kind of traps you in. So both the story and the drawings and everything. So yeah, I think it's a really nice work.
Well, and it's curious to see also that a project that was thought to be meant to be a theater work has arrived to well to a comic in this kind of thing. But we can see, you know, Joey, I've told Adrian several times something that as he has studied architecture. Also the scenarios, the places where the stories develop and drawn in this case are like a character also of the story. What do you think about this term of the place, the houses, also the haunted houses as a character of the story also that involved the character, the human characters?
Yeah, it's so important because, you know, as I say, it's for me, especially, I think it's because of the horror genre, immersion is so important. So like you want to feel like you're inside somewhere, you know, unsettling, or like you're in a haunted house, or you're in a scenario where, you know, you're not sure what could happen at any moment, or down a corridor. And like Adrian's architecture background was about such a bonus. You know, I wasn't aware of that when I reached out to him, you know, way back when. And like, I think as well for readers, it's, I think, something that's taken for granted, but like consistency in like backgrounds and buildings and things, you know, an artist has to draw these things over and over again, and it's not hard. I mean, sorry, it's not easy. And, you know, it needs to look consistent, otherwise the reader's going to be like, that doesn't look like that place, or, you know, that looks different. Are we still in that place, or are we not? So like, it's things that you know, take for granted as a reader, but if you spot it and it looks different, then it takes you out of the story and the experience, which is not what we want at all. But yeah, Adrian continues to like impress me all the time with what he brings to every new page. So it's a pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so well, it's really important to have to create an atmosphere, because in comics we don't have the sound, we don't have special effects, we don't have sound effects and music also. So we have to put the emphasis. I don't know if it is correct. The emphasis of the context, the places, and also of the facial expressions, I guess, of the characters. It has like as we have said, a theatrical also sense of expression also, and it is quite peculiar because I don't know what you think about it, Nemesis, but it is pretty particular of these comics, this kind of things.
Yeah, I did think when I saw one of the scenes, you can see a part of it where the columns are and all that. When I saw that room, I was really impressed. Like, wow, he really took care of the background. And yeah, now that you said about that it was written as a play, it kind of makes sense, but still, it doesn't feel static like sometimes plays do. It has a lot of movement in the different shots. So yeah, it's really nice. It feels kind of like an old, like what's his name, Vincent Price movie or something like that, like real gothic horror, which I'm a huge fan of. So I really like it.
That's how it played out in the stage play. Was the Isaac, he is looking towards the audience, and he goes through the case, like talks to you, and then he plays back the dictaphone, and you hear like the patient start to talk and tell their experience, and then the curtains get drawn back, and then we go into like the flashback of what happened with Isaac and the patients, and you go into it that way, and then you go into the patient, what they experienced, and that's when the horror begins with the immersion of the show. So it's just like little tweaks, you know, so it works for this and it works for that.
Yeah, the details really make it work, definitely.
awesome.
Exactly, and also as Nemesis says, it is pretty difficult to make a sequence. In this case, we have a dialogue with between the psychologist and the inspector, and someone could say that it is a pretty boring scene made in a comic, because well, in cinema it's pretty different. We can make a rhythm and a specific rhythm to make it more fluid or dynamic, but in this case it is a challenge. It is a challenge to make it in this script of a dialogue, a simple dialogue in frames, in several frames in a page. In here we have in this page 5 frames, and well, we could say that we have seen, for example, in manga we have seen pages with very few frames that are with particular forms that are pretty dynamic in superheroes genre also. But in here, the pace of the rhythm of the page it is not it is pretty far away of being boring. So I mean, it is pretty awesome in this way to see that it is pretty dynamic with these frames in this kind of composition of the page. What do you think about it, Joey, of this dynamic of the sequences?
Yeah, so I think we were talking about, in films and stuff, you can't control. There's no sound. Well, yeah, I mean, in films you've got the sound, you've
Soundtrack.
got effects and things like that to get the reader to experience. Also the pacing, you can't control how fast the reader is reading, or how slow they're going to read, or so there's those things to contend with. But I think the important thing, what I try to do in comics is, at the end of the day, comics is a visual format, and people that are picking up a comic don't want to read a big wall of text, big, large speech bubbles, reading and spend like 5 minutes on one page. A comic's supposed to, if you're just picking up a single issue, it's supposed to be like, 5-10 minute experience, hopefully a good experience. But so that's why the page that you've got, we could have easily have put like all the bubbles probably in the first panel, in that page that you were just on, or just have them sat opposite each other and just talk and just get the exposition out of the way, or what we're trying to get across. But I've divided it up into exploring the room a little bit, seeing little details, breaking up the looking at the picture on the wall. That's more information for the reader to take on without there being any bubbles. It's like, oh, what's that frame mean? More details like that. And it's getting that balance right. It's a very fine line, I think, between there's being too much dialogue and there not being enough. And I like to think the pacing in our horror comics are our strength, because we like to do a bit of text, do a bit of build up, visual way, bit of text, visual build up, climax, big reveal or big shock or something like that. So I think horror, you have to have that balance, whereas some other comics, it all differs, different genres. But I like to think we've got a good balance between dialogue and visuals.
Okay, well, that's pretty interesting. And also, well, we are going to talk about other Adrian Garcia's comics that we have in here. This is the Etsy page where you can find and also buy. This is the spam moment, or pretty much of the Afterlight Comics. And over here we have a Rise and Birth of the Goatman. It is, I guess, there is the second series that Adrian have drawn with you, I guess.
Yeah.
And how did this project start? because, well, the Goatman, it is a concept, a pretty remarkable concept. It is like the Minotaur. I don't know how to say it in English. But also, but with a goat. What is this? Is it the chupacabra? What is exactly?
Yeah, so it is about the Goatman, and basically, it stopped with me. And after I think Stay Awake 1, I did a series called Folk Tales of the Cryptids.
Yeah.
And it's like a short horror anthology. Basically, I was getting more into working with more people. I wanted to like not audition, but like test, feel out, what it'd be like to work with more artists and see who, maybe I could do a full series with by just doing a 6-page sample story with each of them. And so what we did 4 6 short horror stories, each based on a cryptid. So a cryptid is like a creature that can't be proven to exist, but it's like a mythological thing. So you've got like Wendigo, Goatman, Bigfoot, Mothman. These are all cryptids. So I wanted to do like a balance of the most obscure and some of the most popular cryptids. So I think the first issue of Folk Tales of the Cryptids was Chupacabra, Mothman, Puckawudgie, and the Momo Man, which is like Bigfoot. And Adrian actually did the Chupacabra story for that. And we published it on Kickstarter, did really well. And I found out like there was a market for like these cryptids, like these cryptid comics. There's a big audience for all these creatures and things. So I thought, what's the next biggest cryptid that I could do with a comic? And Goatman was the one. And before I do any comic, I research a bit and see if there's anything like that out there. And there was no Goatman comics out there, like, because I never want to write or republish or do anything that already exists. Because what's the point? People have already done that. I always want to do something different that doesn't exist. Fill that gap of a story. So Goatman, and I reached out to Adrian, and he was down to do it. And yeah, basically it started off as a one-shot comic. It was 32 pages, one and done. It tells the story of a young family that are staying at a cabin in the woods, and then the daughter discovers a diary in the basement of the previous owner. And then you go into like a flashback of that owner and what happened. Meanwhile, the present day is taking place, and we find out the father is looking for a missing dog and stumbles upon something or someone or some man, and it plays out from there. And the story was done from there, and we published it on Kickstarter. Went amazingly well. People really loved it. And then a couple of months later, like I've been to conventions and people were still really picking up Goatman and enjoying it and things. I was like, oh, maybe I should do another one, or see what people think. And we put an update. Posted an update on Kickstarter saying what would people think. It's always about, these are the people, backers and people that support you, and they're going to buy your stuff. So you may as well speak to them and talk to them about if the demand is there, if they want it. So I put an update out if they wanted to see more of the Goatman story, and I had like 40 comments saying, "Yeah, amazing! Oh, yeah, sign me up! I'll back it day one," and all this. That was amazing to like get such a response like that. So then we extended it into a trilogy. Adrian had more work to do, and it eventually evolves into a detective investigating follow-up for what happens to the family. And then we have Birth of the Goatman goes into the origin of the Goatman, and then the final issue in the trilogy, Hunt for the Goatman, which is just on your right there. Is that right?
Yep.
It's more of like a climactic battle between the Goatman and humans. So it's like a bit like the Planet of the Apes trilogy, which is like a action-packed version of it, which is cool.
Wow, that's pretty
Very
amazing. The concept has gone pretty far away of what we could thought. first. So, Nemesis, what do you think about all this project of the Goatman comic? Well, in this case, Joey, this story has more a thriller and investigation. Well, a sort of spirit, like more action. I think it has this nuance compared with other comics that are more slow pace. I think it has another sense of rhythm in this case. So, Nemesis, what do you think about all this project of the Goatman?
Yeah, I found it super interesting because I didn't know the Goatman, but I'm really into the cryptids as well, and well, everything horror really, but folk horror is my favorite kind of horror. So yeah, I find it super attractive. I think there's loads of stories to do about it. So there's like a never-ending fountain that you have there where you can grab stories from. And then that's definitely super creative. I don't know if I saw in the cover that the Goatman is ginormous. In the other cover it was. So yeah, I'm very intrigued to know what he is like. Seriously. And also I love goats and all that. It seems very like a little bit satanic kind of. So yeah, I'm really into it. I love it.
The second installment, Birth of the Goatman, you know, that goes into more like, so Rise of the Goatman was more of like a horror, tense, you know, unnerving story of, you know, the Goatman exists and is out there and is watching. And whereas the birth, we go into more about the origin of him, and we get to know the person behind him, who he was before, and, you know, has a family and kids himself, and what turned him into like this, you know, kind of monster. So it's good to like flip it on, you know, the side and feel like empathy towards, you know, this creature that is killing people still, but, you know, before that. So.
Did you do a lot of investigation on the Goatman and the legends before doing this?
What's that? Sorry.
Sorry, did you do a lot of investigation about the Goatman and all that before doing this?
You know what? I don't do a lot of I don't do a hell of a lot of research. Mostly what I do is like look up images of the creatures and you know, go into like the biology of them, kind of thing, the makeup of them. But I think if you do too much research, you tend to make the stories that already exist, and then you start to get influenced by them then, and you start to like mimic them a bit unconsciously. And that's why I didn't want to do it. I wanted to like this is the Goatman. Think of some ideas, think of the best story that I can tell. I don't need to like look here, there, and everywhere, like, you know, and be influenced that I want to make something original. So that's my take really with most things that I do. Unless, like, you know, if somebody hired me or something, I have to do research on, you know, like a religious backgrounds or things like that. You know, I want to be respectful and things. But in terms of like the creatures and things, you know, I don't do a load of research.
Yeah, we can say that in this case there is a sense of also of folk legends also that are also in other Afterlight Comics stories. Also, it's one of the. It is pretty interesting in Joey to see that inside the horror comics line that you offer as a publisher, there are some nuances between all the publications. They are not only just horror. There are psychological horror, folk stories horror. Also, there are some nuances in there. So it is pretty good in that sense to the comic book fans in this case to buy to have several options to read.
Yeah, of course. Like when I'm at comic conventions, you know, I want to be able to appeal to the widest range of people that, you know, possible, that can I've got Slasher Royale, which is a slasher comic series. So if you like Freddy Krueger, you like Jason, you like Halloween, that Slasher Royale is basically Battle Royale, but with a bunch of slashers. We've got Stay Awake, which is a psychological horror. We've got Ghost Island, which is supernatural horror. Wendigo Wood is a folk horror. And just like it's having that variety, of subgenres that you can appeal to. Like people like horror, but people don't like slashers because it's too gory or something, So it's like I don't want to like shut people out. I want to be able to open the doors to as many horror loving people as possible. But like obviously there's so many different subgenres. I'd love to do like sci-fi horror one day. I think that's the next big one that I'd love to do.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty great because for me, I'm not such a huge fan of horror, and I don't like slashes or even the Saw movies. I hate them because I cannot endure them. That's far. Well, that's my opinion. I know that there are a lot of people that love them, but I cannot endure it. I don't know, Nemesis, if you like them or not, but for my case, I prefer another kind of horror. But in the case of movies, it's like there is only one type of horror movie with if it is a slasher or even just a scream moment movie, let's say, like that that it is shown even in the trailers, and well, it is not worth it to pay a ticket for watch it in the cinema. So I mean, it is pretty nice to see here several options, as you said, of different kinds of horror, because it is a pretty wide genre. In fact, I don't know if what do you think about it, about Nemesis, about this kind of options, of this range of variety?
I think it's great because, as you said, there's so many different genres, and maybe I am a horror fan, a huge horror fan, and I'm not that much into slasher movies. I do enjoy them. I think they are the kind of movies you want to watch with more people, maybe to have with popcorn and all that, because they're very entertaining and it has a lot of action. But I'm really more into the very slow-paced folk horror kind of thing. So yeah, it's great to appeal very different things. Also, sci-fi horror is also not really my thing, but I know there's lots of people that love it.
Also.
So yeah,
I
think it's amazing.
Okay. And Joey, just for finishing here, could you tell us? You have talked about Wendigo Wood as a folk horror story. Also, Ghost Island we have in here. What will be next for Afterlight Comics? What will be the next project that you will have?
Yeah, so we have the Safe House, which is currently on Kickstarter right now. Basically about a young family that are taken into witness protection after the husband witnesses a brutal murder. And without giving too much away, that's not as much as I can go into, but it's a psychological horror. If you like Stay Awake, if you like that vibe, we're working with it's the same team behind Stay Awake. It's me and Adrian Garcia again to get back at it again. And we're really excited. It's funded on Kickstarter now within a couple of days. So I think there's 9 days left as of now. So that'll be the next comic that's published, and it's brand new issue 1 of that series. So we've done 3 new comic series this year. So that'll be the end of the amount of new series we launch now until we finish those, because we finished 3 or 4 series last year, this year. So we're really just starting, because we're independent and we publish 6 or 7 comics a year. So we don't want to start up too many new series like issue 1, because then you're building, you're making new blocks, and the more blocks there are, the less issues of each series that would come out. So it would like take, if you launched 5-6 series, it would take, you could probably get 1 or 2 out a year, and then you're talking 5 years to finish a series, which isn't fair to readers, to wait so long and patient. Yeah, I think we did a Mothman horror comic series. We launched issue 1 earlier this year in January, and issue 2 came out in May, and then issue 3 is going to come out in January next year, and then issue 4 is going to be out somewhere in summer next year. So that's like, for an independent to finish a whole series within 12-18 months, that's not something that's as common. But we work hard to, and the artists work hard to get everything together, and well, we hit deadlines, so it's good.
Well, it is a lot of work that you do, and also as an independent publisher, it is not like being even in publishers like Image, that we could say, for example, it is the most independent of the commercial US publishers, let's say. But in this case, you have to be pragmatical in this sense of having to get the interest of the fans, and also to have the several issues of one series, for example, to finish it and to grow also at the same time. So it is difficult, but it seems that it's going to be successful in that sense of of growth. So it is incredible. Nemesis, what do you think about this this dynamic of working and publishing?
Yeah, I think that's a huge amount of work, and it's super impressive. Yeah, definitely, both for you and the artist. I think, yeah, you've done an amazing work and an amazing amount of work as well. So yeah, congratulations, really, and I wish you have a lot of luck with this, and it goes really well, because you deserve it, definitely, with that amount of work.
Thanks so much.
and Joey, in this weekend you will be in the MCN Comic Con in London. Is this the first time that you are going to be there, or you have gone? You have been there before?
No, I've been there before. They have 2, because it's a really big convention for the UK. They have 2 a year. So they had one in May. That was just a fantastic, amazing. It was like it was like over 100,000 people that were there all weekend, which is crazy.
Wow.
It's a really big arena. It's like really filled out, and so yeah, I'm hoping it's busy this weekend as well. Everything's packed and ready to go. All the stock is tight, packed in suitcases and things. So I start the drive down there tomorrow, so to set up. So I'll be posting a picture of the table with some more comics there as well.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really big. Joey, this morning, Nemesis and me were talking about the several conventions, because I've told her about the MCN Comic Con, and she knew another one, and we were talking that we would love to visit, to make a trip with our association to go there. So it would be amazing to visit, and there will be no time to visit all the stands of this convention. I don't know, what do you think, Nemesis?
Yeah, as we were talking, I would love to go. When I was in there, I haven't been to a Comic Con, but it's something I always wanted to do, really. I've been to other like little conventions and all that, but not like something like the MCM. That would be incredible. And to be part of it with our stand, that would be a dream.
and you told me about the satanic flea market. What was that?
Yeah. I don't know if Joey knows about it, but I just discovered it from a few artists that I follow that are also into horror art in general, and a lot of them go there. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's something I've always wanted to be a part of or to visit, because yeah, it's the place to be for horror fans, I think.
Do you know
Cool.
it, Joey? This kind of
No,
market?
no, I've never
Oh,
heard of
there's
the
a Satanic
Satanic
Flea
Flea
Market in London as well. I think it
Do
would
you
be
have
a place for your comics.
do you have to do a sacrifice to join?
No, you know, they just put that name to be a bit scandalous or something, but I don't think there's actual sacrifices to enter. That would be great.
No,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
there's another convention I think you guys would really love. It's called Thought Bubble. You probably heard of it. No?
Oh,
Thought Bubble? No? It's like 500 tables with comic creators only. It's like the comic creator only Comic Con, whereas MCM is like celebrities, doing signatures and
I see.
loads of stores selling Funko Pops and things like these, as well as Artist Alley. But this Thought Bubble is like the biggest comic festival in the UK. They have people flying over. I think Scott Snyder's there, Charlie Adlard from Walking Dead Comics going to be there. You have like
Mm.
all the artists that on the scene, and Marvel, DC, and other publishers are there. Like everyone who's at anyone is like their kind of thing. Like, but yeah, you come away from that one just like feeling so inspired because there's that many creative people in one room, and you see all the amazing works, and you just want to buy everything, but you can't. You need to make your money at the table, your hotel, and your expenses and things like that. So you've got to be good. But yeah, honestly, guys, check out that Thought Bubble because it'd be well worth the trip for you guys to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Great.
definitely.
And
We will definitely go. I've noted down, in fact. So, I love to visit Comic Cons, but also specifically those Comic Cons that have comics as a main attraction. But as you said, the MCM maybe it has, although this stuff of movies, also of other ludic, let's say, stuff. So the other one, wow, it seems pretty good. We will note it down. We have the direct flight from Almeria to London, so maybe we will organize a trip from here. So Joey, just for finish, I wanted to ask you the fact of publishing through Kickstarter, of crowdfunding. It is something that seems to make it more democratic, the process of publishing comics in this case, and it seems that it has worked gratefully for you. What would you recommend for people that could be interested in publish with this method?
yeah, I mean, I could talk about Kickstarter all day, and like, there's so much, I've learned.
Just in few words. It's difficult. I think it's difficult. Well,
I always say, like, if there's any creators or people coming up or people that want to use Kickstarter, always reach out to me and ask me personally any questions that you ever want to ask. I'm always like open book and speak honestly about my experiences. So like, I'm not going to be able to touch everything in my response, but if I don't answer that something is on someone's mind, honestly, just like reach out through the Afterlight Comics page or email us and just shoot away. But the main one that is the absolute main one really is have the finished comic pages displayed on the page. So like, you don't have to have the full comic published, because obviously if you're the writer or you're the artist, if you're the writer mainly and you're paying for the artist, you always have to pay the artist. And if you pay for a full comic, that if you've not done this before, it's a big risk, it's a big gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody funds on Kickstarter. So if you like put some, we call it skin in the game. So like an investment, invest in 5 pages, fully drawn, fully colored, hopefully lettered as well. That's really helpful, and display it on the Kickstarter page. So then a potential person that wants to back or purchase your comic, can see it and get an idea of the story and get an idea of what it's going to look like. And people want to try before you buy kind of thing, don't they? You want to see what they're going to get. So it's where a lot of Kickstarters go wrong, where they can't see what the story. It's just like a character concept or like a sketch of what the character's going to do in the story. It's not good enough to like really convey the story to somebody, and especially like someone to purchase a comic it's like £5-6, and then you've got postage. It's a big investment for people. Just like taking a punt on an idea that doesn't exist. And for your first Kickstarter as well, it's all about being able to fulfill it and repaying that person that has invested in you and your story, and you delivering on that story. Actually publishing it, printing it, getting it sent out to them, then being happy, and getting digital copies out and all those things. And then from there, once you fulfill your first Kickstarter, fund it, it gets easier then, because those people that received your comic, they're going to back you again, because they know you'll deliver. There's that trust, and there's you're building a rapport then. And that's why like we're able to do 6 or 7 Kickstarters a year, because we've built up that reputation of it wasn't always like this. It was like the first one was really difficult. It's not going to lie, it was hard. But like we're at a point now where we can have 4 ongoing comics in production right now. And so when it comes to the Kickstarter, we're because we've been funded before, we know we're going to get funded, hopefully again. So we know that's going to come back in, and we can reinvest the money and produce them. Because like for Rise of the Goat Man, it was all done. We got it completed just before we launched, and as soon as the Kickstarter campaign ended, 3 days later, it was in people's letterboxes at the house. That they backed for the Kickstarter. And that really helps. They're like, oh my god, it's only just finished, and what it's here in the house. So it's like surprising people, and like going above and beyond, and just like being respectful, to people invest in you, reply to every comment. If someone's asking a question, thank them for the support. And it's just being humble, and it's just being consistent with everything that you do. And it's difficult at the beginning, but you pursue it, and you keep going. You'll get there. I'm doing this full time now. I was able to leave my job of 10 years 2 years ago, just before COVID happened, and everything, the crap hit the fan, and I didn't know if people were gonna back Kickstarters anymore, or well, you just go for it, and if you don't go for it, you don't know. So yeah, biggest takeaway from that is just like to keep going when times do get difficult and hard. You just gotta, if you keep putting the work in, you'll get the results from it.
Mm-hmm. So in resuming a few words, we could say that we have to work on the trust with those who have paid for their copy of the comics, and also don't disappoint them, because I've seen a lot of projects made by crowdfunding that have disappointed a lot people, because it has lasted a lot of months to do the project, for example, or something like that. And as you said, it's pretty risky to make a crowdfunding in comics without the comic already made or half made, let's say. So it is a lot of work. I don't know what you think about this process, Nemesis, of to be all these things that Joey has explained to us, but it's pretty curious.
Yeah, I find it fascinating, really. I think it must be pretty scary, especially the first time you did it must have been very scary. I know I would be scared. Like, what if absolutely no one even sees that this exists? So I mean, I'm curious as well of how it started, how people started supporting this and finding out about it.
Yeah. So like it is, you're right. Yeah, it is scary. It was scary. It still is scary. Because this is your story. This is something that you have conjured up in your mind. You're putting it onto a page, and this is up for criticism. It's up for love. It's up for it's effectively your baby that you're putting out into the world, and people are either going to shun it away or like take it in. You don't know how it's going to go down sometimes, but you've got to have that confidence, in your work. If this looks, at the end of the day, you've got to make and create stories that you like and you want to see out there. Don't. Most important thing is not to write things that you think other people will like, because you'll lose the love for it and you won't enjoy the process, because it can be a long process. So it's all about just like, I always say, like, it's the stories that I come up with are the ones that I can't find on Netflix, or you're sitting there endlessly scrolling for the story that you can't find, because you'll never find it, because it's the story that you want to do. So that's what I always do. But the first Kickstarter was scary. As I say, I listened to so many podcasts about Kickstarter launches, like for a year before I did a Kickstarter. Learned about listened to lots of interviews with other creators of what they experienced, do's and don'ts. Comics Launch is a good Kickstarter podcast that you should definitely subscribe to. It's been invaluable and learning everything. Comics Launch with an X instead of a C.
Okay.
And yeah, that's been totally invaluable. It still is invaluable. It's still going today. A lot of your family, and you do rely on your family and friends, like helping you at the beginning as well, and helping you reach those numbers. They help you, get you on your way. Like like a duck about to take its first flight. Just you need that little bit of extra help. So they definitely help, and then you'll get the people just landing on the page and coming across it, and then you can do Facebook ads. But it can, some people get really lucky, and hit all the right algorithms. It touches base with a lot of people. They can relate to the story and all these things, but it doesn't always happen. But once you do get your first one in the bag, they'll be the previous backers that'll back you again, because they've seen what you can do. And it's also good for other people looking in that haven't seen you before. They've seen, oh, you've done a Kickstarter before, that they're good, and I'll back this time. That I wasn't sure before, but I'll back this one. And then once you've got those two comics or one comic, I went and did comic conventions then, and then that was another way of meeting people, spreading the word about who I was, the book. We're doing Ghost Island 2 in a couple of months on Kickstarter. Here's our flyer that you can follow us, or would you like to sign up to our newsletter? And the newsletters are so important, because that's your gateway into sharing all your important news with that potential lifelong reader of your things. So having a newsletter, keeping people up to date, behind the scenes sketches, people really like to see that. And just dropping in and just doing a newsletter every month, just to not just to promote your Kickstarter, but talk about maybe a little about what's going on in your personal life, make it a bit more personable.
Mm-hmm.
Let people in to get to know you a bit, what you're up to, what you've got, what you're drawing or what you're working on at the moment. And so having a newsletter is massively important, because when it comes to launch day for your Kickstarter, shooting an email off to tell them about your Kickstarter, is a lot of Kickstarters make or break within the first 48, 72 hours. They say if you don't make over 50% in the first few days, it's difficult to get to the end. So really having that promotion and lead up, social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You don't have to have all three, but just have two of the best that you can be at, instead of spreading yourself thin and doing platforms that you're not used to, and building up the excitement. You need to be excited yourself for your project, for other people to be excited about it, and sharing that with people, following people on Instagram, networking with people, all these different tidbits. I could go on and on and on and on to keep sharing with you guys. Maybe another podcast in the future, just a Kickstarter one or something. But as I say, if there's something I haven't touched there that you'd want to know, honestly, just like reach out and I'll do my best to answer the best I can.
Well, we can say also that you have shared with us your energy also, because we have to have a lot of energy to make all this stuff. Even just for editing, it is enormous, gigantic, but also to make them through a Kickstarter is a huge quantity of work also. Well, anyway, you have shown your passion for this media, for comics and your creations. So it is something that we have felt in here. So I don't know what you think, Nemesis, but Afterlight Comics is a way of making comics pretty special. And I think that also the readers, the fans has respond or answered in the same way with this excitement.
Yeah, like I'm feeling super inspired after this. You're a very inspiring person. I just want to start drawing right now.
Just prepare some sketches and horror sketches for Joey, or maybe someday he will arrive to some point. Anyway, well, Joey, we are going to finish the program, today's program. Just saying that we are so thankful to have shared this time with you, knowing more about comics and well, of the stuff that you have done in Afterlight Comics and the next ones that are coming for the end of this year and next year also. And Nemesis, you can say any impressions for the end, just for say goodbye also, if you want.
Yeah, I'm just super thankful for all that you have shared with us. And as I said, I'm super inspired right now. Like what you said was really encouraging as well, because awesome. Even though you put a lot of work, you make it seem like it can happen. Like sometimes you hear people talking about how they made something and you're like, yeah, but I'm not a superhero like you. But you seem humble about it and real. And yeah, so I'm super thankful and I'm super glad we met you.
Okay. Thank you.
So Joey, anything that you want to say before we say goodbye in here?
Yeah, it's just amazing to be able to sit down and talk with you guys, and just like sometimes you get so into I'm doing this, I'm doing that, don't get to like sit back and appreciate like the work that we are doing, and like hearing your guys' feedback and things, and it means a lot. And really appreciate you guys having me on, and I'd love to come on again anytime again in the future.
For sure, and even in person, it would be so nice. For us, we invite you to come here to Almeria also in any Comic-Con that we will celebrate it soon, if we have the possibility, or maybe we could go there to London or the other parts of the UK. And so thank you so much, Joey, for as I said, for sharing all this stuff with Afterlight Comics. And well, for next program, as we have said before, Nemesis will be with us talking about one of the masters of horror in comics. We will dedicate a tribute to another that is really related to spirals. So
who could it be?
Who could it be? Keep in mind. So we will talk it in next program of Cómic Mundial. Thank you so much, and we will share more interviews, more news, and also we will share more visions of this passion of comics all around the world with the voice and the heart of their artist. And see you next time.